one.
Welcome to Ordo Militaris Radio TV once again. We are again back with Brother Alexis Bonolo. We are doing another report on Pope Benedict XVI and how the media is controlling the narrative on why he is in Regensburg. Welcome, Brother Alexis.
Glad to be back on Ordo Militaris Radio TV. I'm talk about this important topic, and you get a view of it you're not going to find anywhere else.
Okay, lots changed since a few minutes ago from the radio program. What do we have?
Okay, so we know that the German government has 2 snipers on the roof and part of secret police outside the seminary. But the Diocese of Regensburg has put out an official statement of why it's there. I want to go through this using an English translation and deconstruct it. Okay, so this is how it begins. It's a surprising bedside visit. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI flew to Rome from Bavaria this morning to be with his seriously ill 96-year-old brother. It might be the last time the 2 brothers, George and Joseph Ratzinger, see each other in this world. Okay, so this is complete fakery, because Bild Zeitung, German newspaper, said that as soon as he landed, he and his brother said Mass together. And today, for the Feast of the Sacred Heart, they said High Mass together. And let me tell you, you know anything about High Mass, it is a long ceremony. You can't do this from your deathbed. So Georg is not ready to drop off dead. And but this visit is surprising, because in 7 years, Pope Benedict has never gotten permission to leave the Vatican except for a short trip. All of a sudden now, without any announcements, with no one knowing about it, he's in Germany. And the announcement is made by the time the plane that took him there has already come back to Rome. So there is something up here, and the narrative just doesn't fit the facts. The next section is, the Diocese of Regensburg asks the public to leave this deeply personal encounter in their private setting. It is a heartfelt wish of the 2 elderly brothers and does not tolerate photos, public appearances, or meetings beyond this. Please understand. That is probably the most cleverly pieced of a BS that you could possibly read. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are or how sick you are. If someone takes your photo, it's not going to cause you to drop dead or get nervous. Pope Benedict has been a public person for more than 60 years. I'm sure anyone taking his photo or asking him a few questions isn't going to cause him to have a heart attack or relapse. And certainly if his brother's sick, he has some time in the day to say something to the press. So this is pretty clear that this was put out by the Vatican, and they're trying to keep him from talking. And if they fear he's going to talk, I think it can only be because if he talks in a situation where he's not controlled, we're going to find out he never resigned the papacy and that he's been a prisoner for 7 years, and they've been faking it for 7 years, keeping him under lock and key. So this statement is just totally, absolutely irrational that he's not going to give any interviews or have even photos. I think they might be afraid of photos, because if someone takes a photo of Pope Benedict, doctors somewhere might be able to determine if he's being drugged up, if he's in some kind of less than conscious state, and if he's really just being used as a puppet. All people who want to express their sympathy are cordially invited to say a silent prayer for the 2 brothers. So they don't even want anyone with an excuse coming to the seminary and seeing what Benedict's condition really is. So I think this is complete narrative control. This is a complete cover-up. Something else is really up here. The next section says, the 93-year-old Pope Emeritus landed in Munich on Thursday, June 18th, around 11:45 a.m. Bishop Rudolf Wolderholzer warmly welcomed him there and accompanied him on his way to Regensburg. Pope Emeritus lives in the seminary of the Diocese of Regensburg. The date of his return journey has not been determined. Benedict travels with his secretary, Archbishop Georg Ganswein. They want you to know that. His doctor, his nurse, and a religious. The Pope Emeritus made the decision to visit his brother. The statement of the Diocese of Regensburg is really trying to hide something here, because all the other public statements said is the vice commandant of the Vatican police is there with him. And they're hiding that in this statement because they obviously know what it means. It means that Pope Benedict's a prisoner and he's not free at all. because if he is a retired pope, the Vatican policemen should not be present, okay? Vatican policemen are not present in all the dioceses of the world and following bishops and cardinals around the world. Why is that policeman there? It's obviously for control and to represent perhaps the Vatican to the German government so they keep the Pope a prisoner and out of the public view. So this is all very concerning. It's all very strange. It's highly unusual. It's the talk of Rome. It's an absolute shock to all the Vatican experts that the Pope should just disappear overnight and all of a sudden arrive somewhere else without anyone knowing about it. There is something really strange going on, and I think we have to be very concerned about the Pope. This statement from the diocese is just complete bunk. It doesn't hold water at all. It's obviously crafted to make it appear to be benign when it's not benign, because the facts just don't fit this description at all. His brother isn't on a deathbed, okay? There is a policeman in his presence. He is staying in a building with sniper protection and secret police outside, and he's being prevented from meeting with the press or with the public or even other members of the clergy. I don't think you can describe household arrest any more clearly than that.
Yes. And in Regensburg, he was a professor, so he should have, able to meet with his former students or new students. You want to talk to him because he's a professor at the university.
Exactly. It's a complete myth that Pope Benedict, having been a public person for 60 years, famous throughout the world, especially in Bavaria, his home country, being the Roman pontiff, doesn't want to talk to anyone because his brother is sick. That's absolutely absurd. I know for a fact that in the environs of Regensburg, the Princess von Taxis, a very wealthy woman, has a huge mansion, a large estate in it, and probably would be most willing to put Benedict up there as a pope deserves to be served and kept in a state. Why has she not been asked? Because she's an ally of Pope Benedict and she might hear something not. So this is clearly house arrest. This is clearly a forced exile in some sense. And they threw a sop to Benedict to say, go with your brother, and they're trying to maintain control. So I think people need to contact the United Nations Council for Human Rights. I think the human rights of Pope Benedict are being violated. I think he has the right to speak to the press and to act as a free person. He cannot be kept prisoner by George Ganswein anymore, or the Vatican police. They need to be removed from the scene. And Benedict needs to the public needs to know that Benedict's doctor is not drugging him up and is there for his health reasons. There's really no reason to bring a private doctor. There's plenty of very good doctors in Germany be more than willing to help the Holy Father. To bring a doctor from the Vatican implies that they want to maintain some kind of medical regime on him to control him. So I think it's very suspicious and it's very doubtful, and people need to start raising concerns with the highest international authorities. This is just intolerable behavior, and the press should complain about it.
Yep. At the end of that updated statement, it talks about Pope Francis and something else.
Yeah, that he would ask Pope Francis for permission to leave the Vatican. Why, is he a prisoner? No cardinal asks Pope Francis for permission to leave the Vatican. They travel around all the time. So, I mean, Benedict is not all the cardinals. So if he's retired, he should be able to free to go where he wants, when he wants. And obviously for 7 years, that has not been the case. And as much as the Vatican's trying to hide it, this has all the fingerprints of imprisonment. And they're trying to do it in exile to somehow get him out of Rome. I guess they're afraid of his presence any longer after his book with Cardinal Sarah basically demolished Bergoglio's plan to introduce the married clergy.
Yep. What's with the two different types of jets being reported?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. And I hope in the next few days the details come out and we can say something more definitive about what's going on. I do know that the bishop there in Regensburg is a recent Bergoglio appointee, so the fact that he has control over Benedict is another thing. that the Pope is staying at a seminary is ridiculous, okay? The Pope should be staying in a palace, not in a seminary. Seminary is not organized to have either the security or the facilities for an elderly man of his kind. And come winter and bad weather, it certainly is not going to have the heat that he needs. And it's certainly not designed for the kind of security control, people coming in and out. So it's all very strange. It's all, they say he wants to be next to his brother who lives just down the street, but I'm sure there's enough wealthy people in the world that would be willing to put he and his brother up in a castle. Why is that not happening? Why does his brother have to live in a different facility? So it's just, a lot of questions, more questions than answers here. And it doesn't seem authentic to me. It doesn't pass the smell test.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, but I'll try to keep the listeners of Arte Militaris Radio TV informed as part of my work as editor at FromRome.info. And you can come to that website to read up more current reports. And I'll try to give more analysis here on the radio thing so you can get a deeper understanding of what's going on. But this story is going to expand and explode in the next few days, I think, as the narrative falls apart.
And you have a few more other interviews on this coming up as well?
Not right yet, but I hope to be able to announce that From Rome Info has a reporter on the ground there as soon as possible, but nothing, I can't say anything at the present.
Okay. This is Adrian with Arte Militaris Radio TV saying stay tuned. We'll keep you updated with Brother Alexis with breaking news from Rome Info. Thank you for coming on, and Deus Volt.
My pleasure, Deus Volt.